welcome to today's show. What's going on, Shane? How you doing this morning, bro?
Not bad. I was actually thinking about you yesterday when I was doing my kettlebells, and I wanted to see if you rolled it in or if you delayed putting that in your cutting phase.
Dude, it's a great question. And yes, I delayed because I went up and when we moved, I don't know if we haven't unpacked them yet. This is a
Yeah.
total it sounds like an excuse, but it probably is. I don't know. But I found some of my wife's dumbbells and some of her kettlebells, but the kettlebells, the heaviest one went up to 15 pounds.
Oh
And
yeah.
I grabbed it and swung it a few times. I'm like, this isn't going to do anything.
No.
I'm like, this is,
And that-
not going to
35
happen.
seems to be the for me. 35 is actually the trigger stuff, right? Like
Right.
I've been building up and doing some at 25, but even like yesterday is my build up. I'm like 25 just doesn't activate anything.
Now,
So
well, that was the
35
problem.
is
Is
the
I grabbed
number.
that 15 and I tried to. It didn't activate a single thing. I'm like, it was kind of more just raising my arms. I'm like, well, this is.
Yeah.
So I put it down and I was, even though I told you, I'm like, I do not like running. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, here we go on a run. So I just opened the door, running outside, and went on the run. So now,
Yeah.
no, I have
Well,
not
yeah.
activated it yet.
I actually, when I was heavy into kettlebells, had this little plastic handle that you could hook onto dumbbells. Because when I went to hotels, they
Right.
never had the kettlebells, but they had I could put the handle on the dumbbells and it would actually work. And one of my favorite Amazon deliveries was a kettlebell, actually, because I happened to be going outside at the time, and the delivery guy flags me down, and he goes, "Hey man, come here for a second." He goes, "What is in this?" Because it was like a 65-pound kettlebell, but it's in a little box,
TV
this
box.
big,
Yeah.
and so it's so dense. And he goes, "What is in this thing, man?" Because it says two people on the lift, and he looked at it like whatever, and he said he almost threw his back out when he was loading it because he had
Oh
no
yeah.
way to know it was going to be that heavy, kind of deal.
Oh,
Uh,
that's too funny. I'm sure he's like, what the? Yeah, that's.
and then when I told him, he's like, "Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I get it now, man."
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yeah,
so
Anyhow, great question, and I'm annoyed that we don't have it, and I need to either find them or buy something else. Because I still think I think the heaviest she had, because I don't use the kettlebells here at the house,
yeah,
but I think the heaviest she even has is a 35, which
yeah,
I think with that I was like, oh, that'll do, that'll work, but
yeah.
but
It
even
might
then, I
work,
still
but you're going
feel
to go up pretty quick. I mean,
yeah,
because
I'm a big dude, so
yeah,
I feel like if I don't, because it I don't want to spend 20 minutes doing the kettlebell thing and then kind of like just be like,
yeah,
that's all right. But I think if I go heavy, it'll all be weight based, right? The heavier I
right.
go on it, the more it's gonna.
Oh, the more it'll do it. I mean, when
Yeah,
I was in the best cardio shape, I think one time when I was doing it, and I was doing like, I think 65 pounds or something, right? 65
right.
or 70 pounds. It was a lot. And we did a zombie race, and we were zombies. And I had people come up to me like, "Dude, how much do you run?" Because I would just sprint the whole. We would sprint, steal. We were like World War Z zombies. We were
Right.
not like slow zombies,
Right.
and we would run people down and steal their flags. And they'd be like, "How much do you run, man?" Because they'd be like, "I've seen you run back and forth and just tag all these." I'm like, "I don't run at all, dude." They're like, "How?" And I'm like, "Kettlebells."
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
so that's my
Right.
favorite cardio.
Well,
So
it's funny. Speaking of the running thing, so like the back in this is about my early 20s, somewhere around mid 20s. But I used running, but I would do it on the treadmill. I don't even think kettlebells were a thing back then.
they
Maybe they
weren't.
were, but I
They
don't
weren't.
know. Okay, they weren't. Yeah, because I don't even
Yeah.
think they were there. But so I would run on the treadmill, but I would only do it for 20 minutes. But I got pretty intense with it, where I'd be like maxing out in the vertical or whatever incline, the incline, and then run. So, but I got in some really good shape. And then one day I had this idea that I was going to run home I was run home from the gym. My mom dropped me off to the gym, and I was going to run home from the gym. But we were like 20 miles from the gym, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like a short. But I was in such good shape, I thought it'd be fine. And so then I go out and I start this run, and I feel freaking amazing. I'm flying, going so fast, and my cardio never failed me. But at about mile 15, because
Yeah.
I'd never done that kind of distance, my tendons over my knees started aching a little bit. And
Yeah.
I was a young kid. I'm like, screw it. I'm freaking tough. Whatever. It's a little pain. It'll be, no big deal. So I push through it. I keep pushing, and I push all the way to the mile 20. But by the end of the 20 miles, dude, my knee was like done. It
Yeah.
hurt so bad. And I'm like, man, I hope I didn't, do anything. But I didn't know enough about the body back then to know what I had done. But I woke up that next morning, dude, couldn't. My knee was like swollen up like a cantaloupe. I couldn't even walk, and I ended up not being able to do any cardio work at all for about a month because
Yeah.
I flat out couldn't walk. Like I had inflamed it. My sister's a long distance runner, and I told her what I'd done, and she's like, "You're such an idiot.
Yeah.
Like you, or what are you thinking?" So apparently, there's too much cardio. You can do too much cardio.
Oh, I was gonna say I swore when I got out of the army I would not run over 3 miles ever again, and I think I broke that twice. Once was some kind of obstacle course race I did with my wife, and I didn't know how far it was. I thought it was just like a 3 mile thing, and then I show up and it was like 10 miles.
Oh,
And then I may have run like six one other time with somebody to do like a race or something, But that's it, like twice in about 20 years. So I mean, it's
that's pretty good. That's pretty
I'm
good
pretty-
to have not done cardio. I would say you haven't done cardio.
not over 3 months or 3 miles. I would go 3 miles, but I wouldn't go any further.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so-
pretty good to have not done any distance at all, like any long. That's But I'm with you, dude. I think that's a great plan. I think long distance runners, bless your hearts, you're great. But that sucks. There's nothing fun of. There's just.
I don't ever get. I think I've never had a runner's high. Right? And when I was younger, I ran all the time because I was in the army, right? And
Right.
ROTC in college, had to do some in law school just because I was about to go into the army. Then in the army, I was with the 101st, and they do a lot of running, but they also do a lot of ruck marching, kind of deal. So,
Well,
which is where I tore my knee up, and I was young and tough like you. I just went through air assault school with a torn meniscus in my knee, and didn't know it. It was undiagnosed, but it caused me pain for like years. And finally, I went to go see a doc. He says, "Yeah, how long you had this?" I don't know, like 10 years or something. He goes, "Okay, it's probably chronic. I see the tear. We'll fix it." And then afterwards, I was like, "Holy cow! Why did I wait 10 years to do this?" Because it was so much better afterwards. I mean, it fixed it for probably 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great, man. Dude, have you always been into fitness? Like, has it always been important to you?
No, so I've always been into it, but it's not always been important, is what I would say, right? Like, we did weightlifting off and on for years, right? But never anything consistent, right? We do it like 3, 4, 5 months and stop. But when I was and I would run with my parents because they were in the army when I was in high school and stuff, right? So I just ran. And I guess I was in good enough shape I could just choose to go out and run with them or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's only like 3 miles. In
But
college,
you'd be surprised, bro. How many? I'm sure you're not. Wouldn't be surprised, but how many kids or people could not do that? You're like, hey, let's go run. Let's go run 3 miles. So you had to be in good shape.
Yeah, I had done martial arts like when I was younger, like 4 or 5 times a week, kind of deal. So we did it. I guess I was always into it. And in undergrad, I was on an ROTC scholarship, so they have mandatory PT. So like you just into it or not, I had to do it. And then I did their Ranger Challenge team in college, which is just like their sport kind of deal, which is just an extra workout, a whole bunch of stuff, but it keeps you physically fit.
Yeah.
And then in law school, I put on a little weight and did Body for Life by Bill Phillips.
I didn't know you did that. I did Body for Life too.
I did that for a while.
Did you like it? Did you like it?
I did sort of like it, and it was the first time I'd actually done any nutrition, though.
Right.
That was before it was always sort of like, I don't know, I'll eat less or I'll do whatever kind of deal. So it was the first like glimpse I had on, protein or carbs or whatever kind of deal. So it worked pretty well. I mean, I didn't get shredded, but I got pretty lean, right? Mm-hmm. And then I went in the army. Yeah, go ahead.
I was to say the run I was just talking about, I was doing Body for Life at the time. So that's why, like, how he had every other day was the 20-minute workout or the 20-minute treadmill. That's what I was doing on the treadmill, but I started doing it every day because I just, enjoyed it.
More is better, right?
Interval training, right, where you go you're fast and slow, and then speed up and all that whole thing. I remember with the Body for Life that was the first time, my first experience with protein shakes.
The Myoplex EAS protein shake.
Yeah, we ordered the little kit, and it had the little packets or whatever, and I remembered I remember they sucked. I didn't enjoy them, and I wasn't even sure. I thought like because I don't remember if it was a meal replacement. I don't remember, but I just remember every time I had one, I was still hungry, and I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm like,
Yeah.
this sucks. I think that was the one part of it I didn't like was the Mileplex shakes. But
See,
that's just yeah.
I was like 42 grams of protein. That seems like a lot. And my dad, he was into it, but he was paying. I was just we had like a family credit card for groceries, right? Kind of deal. So it just go to the store and buy these things. And he calls me and he goes, "How much are these freaking shakes, man? You're spending a ton." And I'm like, "They're pretty high." And then I found like a warehouse, like a nutrition warehouse somewhere like 30 miles away or something that sold them like at half price.
Oh,
So
geez.
then I came in with them and Dad's like, "How much did you spend?" I said, "No, dude, they're half off." He's like, "Okay, keep going there." Suddenly he was okay with it.
Yeah, they were expensive. They were like back then, and that was I mean, how many years ago? And they were like $2.50 a piece,
I think, yeah, I don't
something
remember.
like that. Which,
I just know
dude,
they were high.
$2.50 a serving is a ton for a protein shake.
I
Like
paid for
now, compared to what we have now.
yeah, two double cheeseburgers at McDonald's.
Exactly. Oh yeah, yeah. And you're getting this little protein shake, and then you're
Yeah,
finishing it. And I
exact
remember
same.
getting done, and I'm like, that was my meal, and I'm looking at my clock, and I've got 3 hours before I eat again, and I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, that
Oh,
one was
no,
uh,
starving.
yeah. So we did that, and then I went to the army. When I got out of the army, I worked at a big law firm in Atlanta for 4 years, and I got a little fat then. That was also like fat for me, is what I would say, right?
Right.
And we had the kids. I was commuting. I was working long hours. I mean, all the stuff we talked to people about it on Legal Edge. Actually, I was
Mm-hmm.
in the thick of all of that. Except I was working for somebody else, and I put on some weight, and I think I got up to about 165, which is actually probably the heaviest I've ever been,
Right.
even now. And I didn't have anywhere near the muscle mass back then. And some friends of ours wanted to go to Dragon Con for the first year, and they somehow decided we should be Spartans. But not the Spartan group I'm in now. We were unaffiliated Spartans, so we were just random
Right.
city Spartans without the shields, without all the good costumes. We just showed up, and looking back, and I lost like 30 pounds in like 4 or 5
Wow.
months. I mean, I got pretty hardcore, but I was skinny,
Yeah.
and I still didn't have a six pack even, right? So it's like that shows you how little muscle mass I had.
Yeah.
And we showed up, and looking back, I'm like, I was still a pudgy Spartan back. I'm like, I'm still out. Like,
But you probably felt like a badass because
I
you
felt
lost 30
pretty
pounds.
badass
And, yeah.
until I met the real Spartans.
Right.
Until it's because we're wandering around and we bump into one or two of them, and they look fucking awesome.
You're
And I'm like, dude, I
oh.
look,
You're
I'm
like,
a
oh
little
shit, I'm the Timu version of
Yeah.
Spartan.
So exactly. And that was, but I don't think I ever got in that bad a shape again after that. And that
Yeah.
was a decade ago, maybe. And now if you listen, and every year, for the last couple of years, I've done the Spartan thing, and it keeps me pretty dialed in. Or even if I don't quite do the Spartan thing, I still, cut for Dragon Con and get back to
Yeah.
the weight kind of deal. So
Well, dude, that's a good anchor because it's an annual thing that you enjoy. So you're going to do it every year, and it helps keep you. I've watched it this year because you kind of like were like, I don't know, but you're like, I'm going to do the thing, but I don't know if I'm going to be the tier. But I think as it got closer, you're like, oh, I'm doing it.
yeah,
Yep, I'm down back in. Like, so it's like it's your version of like floating away is not really float. It's your deviation is like this little teeny.
it's not that much. I know.
It's not that much, but it's it's still there. And well, dude, I was thinking about the fitness side because like I remember my first sales calls I took. It was at the time I was really fit, like in great shape, and
Yeah.
wearing the shirts into the big back, and so even if I'm wearing a dress shirt, you could tell, right? The dudes that are fit when they're wearing a dress shirt and it fits them right, you just like you don't have to see their muscles to know that person takes care of themselves.
Yeah.
And so I knew that. I knew how I looked, right? And I'm sure you do too. Like when you look good, when you don't, right? And I remember showing up to this. There was a bunch of us, and we all showed up to this sales, kind of training, but it was almost an audition for a job, sort of. It was just kind of this unique scenario, and we all showed up. And I remember just looking around the room, and maybe this makes me sound like a total asshole, but I remember drawing a ton of confidence from the fact that I was most fit dude that was there. So when we showed like all the other like candidates or whatever, I was the fit guy, right?
Yeah.
And I look at that and I'm like, dude, I there's no doubt in my mind that when I jumped on the call, because we literally, I'm sure it was super illegal, but we literally were given a phone book, and we just had to start cold calling the phone book, which I don't know if lists exist back then where you could get on a do not call list, so maybe it wasn't illegal.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't, but that was so. But I know my confidence. It started the moment I walked in the door and realized that I was the most fit guy in the room, and there was something about that was like, well, then I should perform the best.
Yeah.
Which is funny because being fit, you would seemingly makes no connection to be able to get on a phone and make a cold call and get somebody to fill this information and to, you know, and we were just trying to find leads, and that's what we were doing. And we were basically, you know, that audition was to find leads for the senior.
Oh,
so
wow.
we were just finding people to call. So it was literally phone book calls, and that's what we were doing. So we were just jumping on the phone, and we all got a couple letters in the alphabet, and that's who we were supposed to call. So it's big room of people we call, and I ended up getting the most leads, and everybody was like just crazy. It was like my first real experience selling, and I didn't have a lot of training at the time. I didn't really know how to sell. I just knew that my confidence level was like through the roof. And I'm sure, dude, because we talk a lot about scripts and how to, you know, now obviously a lot of training on what you say, like on an intake call and how to do it, all those things. But back then, I didn't have any of those, but it was just my sheer confidence in that I knew who I was, sort of. I don't think I really knew who I was, but I knew I was buff.
Yeah.
As silly as that sounds, I knew I was the fit guy, so I was disciplined there. So why wouldn't I, in my arrogance and probably my ignorance, I was like, why wouldn't I be good on the phone too?
Well, I was going to say, well, confidence is a huge part of selling.
Yeah.
Right. And it's you being able to talk, but also I think if you don't like your product or whatever it is, whatever your service is, if you don't think it's good, it's really hard to sell because you don't have confidence in the product either. So I think it bleeds all into it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can remember years ago, I had a boss who called me in and she looked at me and goes, Shane, I don't understand this. I literally have heard this other salesman, a lawyer, counsel somebody and tell them this is the law, this is what you need to do. And they come out of the office almost crying, unconfident in the solution. And I've heard you tell people, I don't know the answer, but based on my legal knowledge and experience and my best guess, this is what we should do and this is how it's going to work. And she goes, and I've seen them come out of your office smiling and thanking you and good with the plan where you just basically said you're just making shit up.
Yeah, you basically said there is no plan and let's go.
and she goes, and your clients are loving you, and this other person's clients are like wanting in your office, even though they said this is the legit law, and you just said, I don't know, dude, we're just gonna wing it.
Yeah.
But it's all, I mean, a lot of it is confidence in selling, and I think believing in yourself, and I think there's a level, but I mean, the more fit you are to a certain extent, it shows discipline, it shows commitment, but it also boosts all your confidence. And I think that bleeds over into everything. I mean,
if you feel good, you're going to show up good, right? And at the end of the day, people don't buy whether or not you know the law. What they're buying is your certainty.
right.
Like at the end of it, that's all they're buying. And so if you're certain, even if you don't, that's why your example works and why you can do it. You could do it 100 times. You could sell somebody that you don't understand that area of law even. Like it's like an area you don't practice at all, and you're like, I'm not exactly sure. Like you could sell someone on that just because your certainty in who you are can figure it out, where they're going to buy that certainty. They're going to sign on the line because they're like, okay, I just trust. We all do this. We all trust. And when somebody shows up, like one of the intake calls that I was auditing, it's interesting. The person basically you could tell, it was obvious the person was not confident in their skills or ability, and they literally talked themselves out of getting a signed client.
Yeah.
Like you listen to it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's I mean, it was a recording, so I couldn't do anything about it, but there's a part of me just wanted to like somehow reach through the computer and shut their mouth.
Yeah.
Because the things they're saying, I'm like, you're talking yourself out of a signed client. Like, what are you doing? And it was because they didn't have any confidence in what the process. I don't know, or in themselves. There was definitely a lack of certainty, and everybody demonstrates the lack of certainty differently. Some people demonstrate it in talking too much, which is the intake call that I was reviewing. Other people will have lack of certainty in that they'll say way too little.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know what to say, and so they basically say nothing. But so it manifests in all these different ways, and it's interesting too when it comes time to getting people to sign. And it was same for me. It's the scariest part of a call. You got an intake call, and you're about ready. It's the ask, right? You're going to ask for that. But I don't know. It's interesting to listen to when you don't have certainty, which is kind of weird because you can give somebody the same script. Because, like I said, we talk about scripts and having the right script and making sure you're, measuring the right way. But if the person that's delivering the script is very uncertain in what they do, it doesn't matter.
Or they don't feel good in the product, right? Yeah. They don't feel good in the service. Like I tell all mine, like I believe we help clients, and I believe we help clients better than other law firms out there. I think we're more involved in making sure they get the best medical care they can. And then we work hard to get the best solution we can for them. And I genuinely believe, and I've got numbers to support it, that we do a better job than other firms, right? Yeah. So therefore, we should feel good about it, and we should be confident, and the salesman should feel good about it, right? Because we're helping people. I mean, and that's something I talk to lawyers about too, is like if you don't like your area of law, if you don't genuinely feel like you're helping people, it's hard to be confident, and it's hard to sell people why they should hire you because you don't believe in your product, right? Or if if you don't believe you're helping people, that's a real problem. I mean, as a lawyer, I mean it's a huge issue.
Yeah, you'll feel like a charlatan even if you get people to sign, and that's where I think the adage of this, being salesy. People don't want to be salesy. It's because they don't want to manipulate somebody.
Yeah,
because that's what it becomes. Like you're trying to trick them. You're trying to trick them into signing with you, especially when you don't believe in the product. I remember, dude, this was years ago, and I worked at a car dealership for like 5 minutes. It was after my son passed away, and I was just trying to get something to get me out of the house because I just couldn't, like, I can imagine what that, going through that. So it was like I just needed to get out of the house. And I went and got a job, and this will sound silly because it really shouldn't matter, but I got a job at Toyota. Right. Okay. And the reason it was fine. It's a fine dealership. And it was the number one volume dealership in Utah. So I was like, oh, this will be great. There were literally 100 salesmen and saleswomen there. I mean, it was massive, this humongous place. And I didn't like Toyotas. So I got a job there, and I actually didn't like Toyotas, like legitimately. I actually was I was much younger back then, but I was a huge Honda fan. I loved Honda. So I had built Honda race cars, and I literally was tracking cars, and so I was very into Hondas. But I get a job at Toyota, which is like the competitor of Honda.
I'm only laughing about that was the competition. You were Toyota sucks, Honda's great. It's not like you were. And I've heard the same thing with Ford and Chevys, right? And I'm sure we have some listeners who are Ford versus Chevys. But I'm just thinking, like, to pick the hill to die on was Honda beats Toyota. That just seems odd knowing you now, Trevor, right?
100%. I mean, I laugh at, that's why I'm like, it's just kind of funny. But at the time, I was, but what's crazy, I get this job, and obviously I'm dealing with a lot of stuff anyways, but I think I worked there for like 3 months. I think I sold 2 cars. And it was just because they were going to buy it regardless. Yeah. I was an order taker. Uh-huh. Because when I would go to show the product, like especially like the Corolla or something, I hated the car. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, it's great. It's got air conditioning. And what's funny is the Toyota dealership right across the street and down about, 200 feet was the Honda dealership.
Right.
Literally right across the street.
Why didn't you go there, right? You could have probably sold the pants off or tires off of Hondas.
Oh, dude, I would have been able to sell the worst Honda there ever was just because I loved them so much. And so, yeah, it was an interesting example to me about what you're talking about. If you don't believe in the product, you're just not going to sell it. You're not going to. Yeah. And I'm sure they weren't sad when I quit. And I think I probably would have been fired anyways if I'd.
But it's funny we're talking about salesmen and fitness and stuff, but I mean, I will say too, like I used to stand up when I would talk to clients, right? When I would, and my staff actually made fun of me when I worked at this law firm. They're like, dude, he just paces back and forth. I put people on speakerphone. For some reason the headphones never worked for me, right? So I'd
Right.
have people on speakerphone in my office. Maybe I did get wired. No, finally they did bully me into it. They got wireless headphones and gave them to me, which were they felt cutting edge at the time because
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't wear the regular ones hooked into the phone because I couldn't pace and it would
Yep.
fall off, jerk off my head. So I did speaker, and then I guess my staff went to management and said, "You've got to get him wireless headphones, dude. He's driving everybody nuts." But I would stand up and pace as talking to clients and close, tell them to sign with me, and I was great at it. But I felt like I had more confidence standing up, but also like you talk about fitness. I know lawyers who by the end of the day they're just destroyed.
Yeah.
Right? They got no energy, no fitness, and then they roll from and so any call they take after 2 o'clock is going to suck.
Yep.
2, 3 o'clock. I mean, they're just destroyed. And I ran into it for years in my law firm. I actually moved all my meetings to the morning, or all the important meetings, because I didn't have energy and I was in good shape. I would just get worn down. So I took all my important meetings in the mornings and lighter meetings in the afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about you're physically exhausted when you leave work, and then you go home and you got to roll into your family and be dad, be husband, and be all that. And it's no wonder spouses feel like they get what's left over.
Oh, for sure. Well, and dude, there's a different kind of worn out from a mental worn out, right? If you've been going all day and you've had a lot of dealing with maybe some big cases, and you got some clients who are just maybe a little needier than whatever. You had to devote all this time, and then you did a couple intake calls or whatever it is that you're doing throughout the day, wherever your phase is, and you get to the end of the day, man. It feels to me I feel more worn out than if I'd just gone and run 20 miles.
Yeah.
Like it's a different and usually the way back in the day when I was very unhealthy and I wasn't taking care of my body the way I do now, I would then go and drink alcohol because that would weirdly enough, it would unfatigue me. At least it would feel that way, right? It would allow my brain to just kind of like let go and go into this drunken state, right? And so I'd go into that state. But then, dude, you talk about family. That's all I did was neglect them. Yeah. With the lie that I wasn't, and the lie that this was. I mean, I remember telling I can't remember who I was talking to. It might have been my mom, and she's like talking to me about my alcohol consumption. She was worried about me, and like a mom should be. And I remember telling her that I'm actually a better dad when I drink because it relaxes me and blah blah blah. And I look back, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe she listened to anything I said. I can't believe anyone listened to anything I said. I'm like, that is the most ridiculous statement ever. Yeah, I'm a better dad when I'm drunk. Like, tell me how that, like, anyone listening, that's complete bullshit. It's a total denial tactic. It's whatever, but I believed it, man. And it was all from mental fatigue. Yeah, it wasn't because I was out working out 6 hours, 10 hours a day, like a pro athlete.
You asked me if I've always been into fitness. I can tell you when I don't work out, life is stressful, right? Running a law firm is stressful.
Yeah.
You know me. I've got a bunch of stuff going on most of the time. Mm-hmm. And if I skip working out for about probably 2 weeks is a breaking point. After that, I start getting to be a pain in the ass, right? My wife will tell me, my stress gets higher, and you've either got to go to drinking or fighting is what I would say if you're not going to work out. One of the two, right?
100%.
Or both,
100%.
right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Or smokes weed or things that are available now.
Yeah, whatever your vice of choice is. But, I mean, you're going to do one of those if you don't work out, right? And I think everyone would say that the working out is probably better for you.
Oh, dude. Well, and I'll tell you this much, bro. I didn't used to be able to say this, but even for a couple of years after I became sober, but I love being sober.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I love we went to a wedding reception the other day, and everybody's drinking open bar. And I love being the guy there not drinking because I know that when the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. the next morning, I'm going to get up and feel great. Yeah. I know, because I remember what it was like, all the trudging through the mornings. There's so much of that, which then have obviously affected me in the office, right? So then I go to the office, and I'm worse on calls. I'm worse in meetings. I'm reactive, and I'm all these. It's just, it was a weird cycle. So I don't know. As we kind of wrap on today's show, the theme turned into fitness. And I kind of like the format. If those of you guys have been listeners, you notice we kind of switched the format of the show up a little bit. So if you got value from today's show, go ahead and share the show up with another attorney or somebody that that will also get value from. Shane and I have done some stuff right? We built some stuff, and we want to be able to help others just like you to be able to understand that you're not alone in some of the crazy things you think and some of the situations you find yourself in. Yeah, we probably did them too. And we learned that, that's a bad idea, and here's how you get out of it. Here's how you work through it. Here's, that new path. So if you know somebody else who would benefit from that, go ahead and share this show. That's the only way this show grows. And obviously, if you want to find out more about how we could maybe help you inside of your law firm, you can head over to legaledgecoaching.com. We have a lot of different things. We've got our book out, a lot of different things there that you can get access to. But other than that, we just appreciate you guys being listeners of the show. Any final thoughts today, Shane, as we wrap?
No, I don't. I was going to say, I think as we talk about confidence in your sales call and in your whole process, and not just sales as lawyers, but I mean the whole process, right? Lawyers, the confidence is not just being to get somebody to sign with you. It's actually rolls throughout the entirety of the case. Yep. And I think as lawyers, we don't actually spend enough time working on that and buying into our own, drink our own Kool-Aid is what I would say, right? Yeah. Like that I do a good job and I help people, and here's why. And I think we worry about being too salesy on the front end, and then a lot of times in the middle, we worry about not giving good advice, right? We worry about manipulating a client, and so many lawyers buy into this. I don't want to tell the client what to do. Literally, the client paid you a bunch of money to give them advice. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying you manipulate a client, but some lawyers will give them that advice and then, okay, I've got it, hands off, back off, the client makes all the decision. Sometimes you got to help a client walk through that process. Like the same thing you do with your spouse. I mean, you and your spouse don't just say one thing and then move away. No, y'all will talk through it and get, sort of pull everything out. And I think lawyers don't spend enough time working on their confidence and feel good about their advice, and not convincing, but helping clients see the pitfalls of one or the other. So confidence in a lawyer is huge. It helps in the front process and the back, and I think a lot of them don't even do it. And being fit is definitely going to help your confidence.
100%. Echo. Repeat. We can put that on repeat. So if you're not working on your confidence, you better start, because that's going to spill over to every area of your life, 100%. So, all right. Well, we appreciate you guys being listeners to today's show. We appreciate you guys being listeners of all of the shows. And like I said, share this up, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a fantastic time.